Very photo line.
Oh, absolutely wonderful.
Nobody's saying anything, so can I say a word or two? Well, congratulations to you, George, on your first anniversary as well for winning the great historical election in Bradford West. And this is just our small way of saying thank you for being our MP. And you're most welcome here, and we wish you were here for many, many years to come. A round of applause for Mr. George Galloway.
Distinguished elders, brothers, sisters, comrades and friends, Assalamu alaikum. Well, you really surprised me. I had absolutely no idea at all that any of this was being done and that so many of you were gathering for this. I did begin to think that there were rather more people here than had been at the meeting over the road. But I just thought it was part of the coming and going in this wonderful office, which we established very soon after the election, and which is now a thriving community resource. And you're all welcome to it. I'm here for a surgery every Saturday morning, so anyone who has any problems of any kind, or even just wants to have a chat, is more than welcome here in our office. And we've had already in just 1 year some great times here. This is a wonderful end to a pretty amazing 2 weeks. I think for respect for me personally, since the day that the wicked witch died, we have dominated the news agenda, and for most of that 2 weeks the country was polarized between us and the Thatcherites, declared and undeclared, Tory and Labour. So this is a really wonderful end to a pretty amazing 2 weeks of politics for respect and for me personally. And Ash was my election organizer, along with Naveed, the election organizer, the organizers of victories. Naveed is here, yeah?
Naveed, I think you want to the front.
Please, we need to hear. How wonderful. Naveed and Ash and so many of the people here, indeed probably all of you, but so many of the people here were so crucial to what was by any standards a historic victory, one which I see was commemorated in a meeting the other day called the Bradford earthquake, yesterday, the Bradford earthquake. And we didn't give it that name. That was the name that a respected political scientist working for the Roundtree Foundation gave it. And it was indeed an earthquake. It shook the political establishment to the foundations. Of course, they haven't given up yet, so we still have to keep struggling for the meaning of that election result. But the meaning of it is clear, I think, to all of us. It is that Bradford deserves better than the pantomime horse that has been running it for these last years. Sometimes Labour is the back end of the horse, sometimes the Tories are the back end of the horse, but they are just a pantomime. And the phrase that stuck out from the report on the Bradford earthquake to me was Professor Bastin said that he had never known a place where people hated their local politicians more than in Bradford. And that's because our local politicians here for 50 years have let the city down. They've let the city slide and sink. And I noticed some signs of activity when we were walking the dog earlier on the Westfield site. Unfortunately, the activity stretched only to a billboard being put up saying, "Welcome to Broadway." Well, we hope that something will be built on that site, but we're not holding our breaths. But we have helped to save the Odeon, and we can say for sure that if we had not won the by-election, the Odeon would now be knocked down. In fact, it's now been saved, and the government has been forced to put up millions of pounds to help develop it. Unfortunately, it's in the hands of the council, so I don't have all that much confidence that they're going to do the best with it. But that's a battle for another day. I did say in the by-election that if you elected the other guy, nobody would notice, but if you elected me, everybody would notice. And I think we can say we kept that promise, that everybody has noticed that we are around. But you're only as good as your last result, and we now have to prepare for the next one. And I was just having a discussion with Ron earlier today that it's definitely time now for us to choose our council candidates for the upcoming elections in May 2014. We did elect 5 councillors just a few weeks after the Bradford by-election. We've now had a year, and we've got to elect at least 5 more, and preferably more than that. So we need to get busy now on preparing to choose these candidates and to ensure their victories. Because we need to change Bradford for the better. An earthquake can knock things down, but you then need to build them up again. And we need to build this city up again. I was making the point to Ron earlier that studying the current opinion polls, it's very clear that we can win the Bradford East constituency next time. The Liberal Democrats are going to lose tens, maybe scores of their current seats. And I don't think that David Ward will be one of those that escapes. And that fight will be between us and them. So we need to choose a parliamentary candidate for the Bradford East constituency too. And one of the things which has become obvious over this last 2 weeks from the Twitter feed and the phone-ins and the mail that we've received is that we have now broken into new sections of the community. Yaz was making the point to me the other day that I now have on my Twitter following 127,000 people, and tens of thousands of those joined in the last couple of weeks. And almost all of them are white. Almost all of them are non-Muslim. Almost all of them are working class English people and people from other parts of the country who are crying out for an alternative. And we have to provide that alternative. We have to rise to that challenge. So I'm actually, at the end of this last 2 weeks, very optimistic about the place that there is for us in the political marketplace. Because what we stand for is not represented by anybody else. We are the only people that says, end the wars, bring the armies home, spend the money here, stop invading and occupying other people's countries. We are the only party that says, Palestine is the heart of the matter. Until the Palestinians are free, nobody in the Muslim world will be ready to forget them. And as long as they remember them, the Palestinian cause will remain alive. We're the only people who give expression to that. We're the only people who say that the war in Afghanistan must end now and should have ended long ago. All the other parties are supporting the war in Afghanistan. We're the only people who are saying that poor people in Britain should not be asked to pay the price in unemployment and cuts and services of the crimes of rich people from which the poor never benefited in the first place. We're the only party opposing the discrimination within the immigration system, the bride price, and all the other wheezes, the vast increase in the price of visas for people to come and visit their relatives here, now in the thousands of pounds. We're the only people who are standing up for the minority ethnic communities in Britain who are under the lash of bigotry and hatred, and who are being asked to pay an extra price for the crisis that Britain is in, and who are blamed unfairly for much that is wrong in this country. We're the only people who say and do these things. And that means there has to be a place in the political market for us, because there are millions of people who share these views, these ideas. And if no one else will represent those ideas, we certainly will. So it's amazing, if Harold Wilson was right that a week is a long time in politics, we've now had 52 weeks in Bradford West, or a little more, a couple of weeks more than that perhaps. In just 50 weeks, 50 odd weeks, we have established ourselves as major players in this city, and all of you are responsible for that. It was an amazing night when we stood over there with hundreds and hundreds of people at 5 o'clock in the morning, and a cake just like that one was handed up to me on the truck, a garland of flowers around my neck, and I had a very precarious balance and a very sharp knife in my hand to cut that first victory celebration cake. It had been a sunny day, rather like today was, at least by the time I got to Bradford. And we were going around on that wonderful open top bus that was miraculously appeared right at the heart of our campaign, playing Bill Withers' Lovely Day. Lovely day. And it was indeed a lovely day. And I often look back at the pictures of that day and of the count, and of being carried shoulder high from the count, and all the faces of you who have become my best friends. And I will never forget that night. And although it's only a year ago, quite a lot of things have happened in that year. For a start, I got married 3 times in Amsterdam and Jakarta and London, and many of you were there at the wedding in London. Such was the lack of confidence when we embarked upon this election campaign a year ago, a little over a year ago, that I had arranged to be married the day after polling day. I didn't realize that I'd have to fool the world's media and tell them I was going to bed and dash off to the airport to fly to Amsterdam to get married in my campaign clothes, indeed in this very coat, in this very coat. But when we arrived here, we were very few. But by the time we won our victory here, we were massive, and we have remained massive. And when the time comes for the next polls next May, I hope that we'll be more massive still. So from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of my wife and myself, I thank you for the comradeship, the good fellowship that this last year has represented, to the life-changing opportunity that you gave me. You gave me the chance to tell Mr. Blair once again, I'm back. You gave me the chance to tell Mr. Cameron on the first Prime Minister's questions when I got back, as I was saying, Mr. Speaker, before I was momentarily and briefly interrupted. You gave me the chance, you picked me up, you put my feet back on higher ground, and I'll never forget that, and will always be grateful to you for it. All praise is due to the Almighty for the victory that we had, but we all played a part in helping to bring it about. And to each and every one of you who played whatever part you did and could, I thank you. And I thank you for this wonderful celebration this evening, which came completely out of the blue. Otherwise I wouldn't have been walking the dog over there for the last 25 minutes, keeping you waiting. So thank you for this lovely party. Thank you for being you. Thank you for the great Bradford earthquake of the 29th of March 2012, a date that will never be forgot. Thank you.
Can I just say two things? Firstly, I'm always thinking along those lines, and it's our job really as respect members to do that. But as George said, we need to select our candidates very soon. The applications for candidature are downstairs on the desk. If anybody's interested, or if you know anybody who's interested in standing for elections, the application forms are downstairs. Secondly, we'll soon be announcing the convoy to Kashmir, which George mentioned, Palestine and Iran, Iraq and all that, but we'll also be taking a convoy to Kashmir, inshallah, end of this year. So if anybody needs to get some application forms on candidature for the elections or the Kashmir convoy, please let us know, anybody in this office, that we can sort that out.
May I, Ash, say a few words about the convoy?
Yes.
This is a very important development. We are, as you know, I was, and Ash and others here were involved in these repeated convoys that broke the siege in Gaza, where more or less the whole of Gaza turned out to receive us, hundreds of vehicles, millions of dollars worth of aid, including the value of the vehicles, of course, we brought into Gaza, and we helped to change perceptions and raise awareness of what was happening in Gaza. And now we intend to do the same for Kashmir. And so in September, not long from now, was this April, so just 4 or 5 months from now, we'll be setting out on a 21-day journey, 5,500 miles, and we'll travel through France, Italy, Greece, Turkey, Iran, into Baluchistan and up towards Kashmir. It will be an epic, historic journey, and we really do want you to join it. And if you can't join it, we really want you to sponsor someone else to make that journey, to get them a vehicle. You can put the name of your business on the side of it, or the name of deceased relatives, parents, and so on that you want to be remembered. You can do it many ways, but we need your presence. And if you can't be present, we need you to help other people to be present. And that journey that we shall make, by the time it reaches Kashmir, will be, I think, of epic proportions. It will be not hundreds, but maybe thousands of vehicles by the time it reaches or approaches the line of control. And I think that Bradford should play a key part in that. And as it's being led by us, Aki is here, and Ash, and many others from my closest comrades are going to be the organizers of it, and we'll be driving ourselves all the way to Kashmir. I don't know if the wife knew that yet.
Well, she does now.
She does now. But she's very keen to do it, in fact. So please do take literature for that and for the candidature. And finally, it would be wrong in having this celebration not to pause for a moment to remember our fallen comrade Abu Bakr, who died in the middle of our campaign, a young man of 28 years who died with our rosette on his lapel and his pockets full of our literature. And that was also an unforgettable moment. And we pray for the repose of Abu Bakr, and may God rest his soul, and for his family, Kozar, and his little daughter, Arabia. Her father died on her first birthday, or the day or two before her first birthday, and he'll never be forgotten. His picture adorns the headquarters here. And it was a victory for all of us, and it was a victory for the memory of Abu Bakr also. Say Ameen.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
drinks here. Please enjoy yourselves. Drink food, raise your kebabs. Have a good time. Shite.